Hi, I'm Charlie Kerbeck, and along with my two brothers, George and Frank, we sell Corvettes here in Atlantic City. But more importantly, we're Corvette enthusiasts, and we've had the very good fortune of meeting probably the foremost enthusiast, Mr. Noland Adams. Noland, thank you, thank you, thank you. We've restored the world's oldest Corvette, serial number EX122. This car was built in the experimental department prior to the production of the first 53 Corvettes, and without Mr. Noland Adams' help, we never could have done it.
Author and historian Noland Adams not only wrote the definitive book on Corvette restoration, he lived it. Born in California, Noland grew up like every other young man of that era. He loved hot rods. In April 1955, he wandered onto Elmo's used car lot in Modesto. The owner walked up and casually mentioned he had a car in the back that he might like. There it was, a 1954 Corvette in perfect condition. He bought the car and the seed was planted. When Noland purchased his second Corvette, he bought what he thought was a 54 Corvette, but while registering the car, he learned it was actually a late 53. Noland still told everyone it was a 54. He simply did not want an old Corvette. Noland and his new family soon outgrew the Corvette, but in 1969, a conversation with the founder of the Vintage Corvette Clubs of America rekindled his interest in Corvettes. So Noland decided to locate his old Corvette. He had traded it off years earlier. When Noland located the car, it hadn't been on the road since 1965 and had been in pieces in the backyard for at least 4 years. The original engine and many of the original parts were still there. So he paid $700 and loaded it all up. And that led to a career spanning over 40 years, offering the Corvette community a wealth of knowledge through seminars, books, and videos. And that is also why we're here tonight, inducting the first author and Corvette historian into the Corvette Hall of Fame.
My recollections of Noland goes back a long time. As a matter of fact, thinking about Noland brings back where this hobby's come from, where it started, its roots. Obviously the roots were all over this country. Car manufactured first in Flint, then St. Louis, and now right here in Bowling Green. But the hot rodders were in California, and Corvettes were king in California. And of course Noland was in California, always has been. Very first club that I belonged to was the Vintage Corvette Club. Noland was one of its members. That was back in the mid-60s up till the late 60s. Noland was one of the founding members of the NCRS. Noland also is probably the most knowledgeable person I know, and I think I know just about everybody having to do with early Corvettes. Anything, let's say, up to the 67 vintage, Noland's king.
To find an expert is one thing, but to find a gentleman like Noland Adams is next to impossible in life. We found Mr. Adams, Mr. Noland Adams, Noland, to be the most giving, caring, sharing expert on the face of the earth, in our opinion. Mr. Adams not only knew, but shared, and not only shared, but took a personal interest. And I'm aware that he's done that for hundreds, possibly thousands of other Corvette enthusiasts.
Noland's enthusiasm, coupled with his knowledge of restoration, inspired him to create a series of books, beginning with the Complete Corvette Restoration Technical Guide, Volume 1, covering the years 1953 through 1962.
Just a wealth of knowledge in there, heavy-duty options, fuel injection serial numbers which correspond to build dates, which correspond to engine numbers, and on and on and on. Just great stuff you need when you're restoring an early Corvette. The 63 to 67 guide, same thing for that vintage of cars. His most recent writings were the Corvette American Legend. Volume 1 was the 53, and also the leading into the 53, the Motorama car, and other cars that kind of gave Chevrolet the idea that we needed a two-seater fiberglass car. following right on through 54, 55, 56, 57, 58 to 60. Don't know if that's where it's going to stop. I'll let Nolan tell you if it's going to continue, but it's really, really great stuff. Most of it from the Chevrolet archives, an awful lot of the photos never seen before his publishing. So Nolan, you've shared with all of us for a good long while. It's so wonderful to see a hobbyist, a historian, accepted into the Hall of Fame, nominated, voted into the Hall of Fame. I congratulate you, and seriously, I don't think they could have possibly come up with a more worthy candidate. I congratulate you.
It gives me a great deal of pride and personal pleasure to present one of the greatest people in the great history of Corvette, the 2003 Corvette Hall of Fame recipient, Mr. Noland Adams.